Welcome everybody to another Team of the Month video here on Dice Masters North. It's me, Jordo here. I'm joined with our very own Reg, and this week we've got a special guest with us from CR Gameroom. We've got Mr. Ingledew.
How you guys doing tonight?
We're doing great. We're doing great. Long time no speak. So we have asked you guys to join us for this month's Team of the Month video because you guys created a series that was it last year?
So
I think it was earlier this year we started it.
But it was called the delayed Death Race. Can you guys just kind of give us a quick little overview of what the Death Race was?
Well, the Death Race kind of created from, I think it was one of the events, a weekly event. Someone brought a turn 3 kill team, and I know afterwards, me and Mike have talked a lot, and we said it'd be kind of fun to actually do one where it was expected that a turn 3 was coming, and we decided, we brainstormed a few of the teams, and I think we originally had up to about 8 teams, right, Mike? And then we decided, let's have some fun with it. We made a couple silly rules of. We decided not to have any defense at all. And I think by the end, when we did the tournament, we were about 12 teams. And we each had our own, we had input. A couple teams we disagreed on what we thought was the best way. We did some testing, and we said we want to see which team could do, which one would be the quickest turn 3 kill team. And I mean, I had a blast running it with you, Mike.
Oh, I had a good time playing it. It was it's what made me want to become a content creator.
It was just it was a fun idea. I mean, I know previously me and Kim did a series on teams affiliations. We did a tournament, and this was just it was so much fun to do it. I mean, we were actually cheering on each other to kill each other. It was that much fun to do. And so we enjoyed it so much that we would love to do it again, but maybe with a couple other goals or something.
Yeah, so you guys kind of went into this one knowing you were going to get punched pretty hard.
Well, that was the whole point of it, just to see how much damage we could do to each other.
Yeah.
And how fast.
Yeah, so we've decided to kind of take that event and turn it into our Team of the Month theme for this month. So obviously we're not going to play it the same way you guys did, just because you guys did the series of, this was over a few weeks, wasn't it?
Right.
Yeah, so we got to cram it all into one night, so we're not going to be doing best of 3s, we're going to be doing best of 1s, and we're just going to play as many games as we can and see how much fun we can have while we're doing it. So this is a golden format, so anything that is on the current golden ban list is not allowed in this format, so do check the WizKids website for that. Each player is going to have 5 turns to inflict the most damage as possible to their opponent, so chances are you are going to die by turn 3 in a lot of these games, but there will still be a swing back here, so each player is going to get 5 turns total to do as much as they can. Someone's still going to win the game, but there's going to be a little bit of extra punching in here.
So a little bit different than how we did the Death Race.
Yeah.
The Death Race was just first to 20 points to get the win, and then that was it. And the tiebreak we had was the most damage, but that was a different set of rules we had.
Yeah. So this version of the Death Race is going to be a little bit different than yours. Well, similar in yours, because you guys just kind of went straight at it. You guys weren't trying to stop each other. So we're going to encourage that as well. Defense is discouraged. What that means is the spirit of the event is you're punching. You're going to hit hard. You're going to get hit hard. So don't bring the things that are going to ruin this event. Don't bring the damage reducers. So Big E, Mara, Bishop. Don't bring blankers, Shriek, Dwarf Wizard. Basically, what was that one?
Obs and all that stuff.
Yeah, like
the
anything
list can go on and on. I think
pretty much what you want to do is make sure you want to get to your win con as fast as possible and do as much damage as possible. You don't want to get all that control stuff in.
Yeah, so we're just asking people, like, we're not going to have a very massive ban list for this because it would just be, there's no way that you could actually create one. There's so many cards that could actually ruin this. Just don't be a dick. Bring.
That's right. We had the anagram. We'll say, "Don't be a dick," which
Defense isn't cool,
Stands for
kids.
defense isn't cool, kids. Don't be a dick.
So yeah, just bring. The point of this is to have fun and do the most that you can. So just if you bring in a card on purpose to kind of mess with the other person to reduce their damage, no, don't do it. Okay. That's
We can go on that whole list for hours on it, and
yeah.
like, don't bring that the ring of magnetism combo, all that stuff. Like, yeah, those aren't fun to see or play.
Yeah,
especially
so
for a free
we're
turn.
gonna leave things fairly open for most people. There's a few things that will have to be banned, but just use your common sense. And if you think the card you bring in is gonna ruin the night for people, just don't do it. Easy peasy. So let's talk about why you guys are here. Is to talk about some team ideas. And you guys were nice enough to run this whole tournament, so we've got 12 team ideas that hopefully you guys can walk us through here.
I think we remember most of them. Yeah, I know. I mean, going into it when we did the death race, the main things we had, there was a few cards that were on almost all teams, which I think leads us to our
first slide here. Is this was kind of your cornerstone of pretty much every team.
These are most of the engines, and I think, Mike, we can agree there's probably a fourth one and even a fifth one that we could add to this. Most people have.
Your main ones specifically. You get a little more creative with some of the other things out there, but these threes I almost feel are a must.
Right, and I mean the first card, of course, is the blank one-cost morphine jar. Still, I think probably one of the best cards they've made for attack and defenses, and for the cost. But it's mostly being used on these teams for those masks. You have two masks, of course. You can spin with the clay face. So you buy a morphine jar, clay face it in. You have two. And of course, Mike, the card in the middle there, that's one of the other engines that everyone knows and loves.
Old Professor X, recruiting young mutants, or the 5-cost trainer. Either or, it just has the global pay mass to move 2 sidekicks from your use pile to your prep area. So with the clay face global, you're going to be able to move your sidekicks over quite quickly on your opponent's turn.
Yeah, so again, you had the one morphine jar you buy, you clay face it in. That's pretty much your first turn. You wait for your opponent's turn. You, Professor X, you've got 8 dice going forward the rest of the game. As long as you roll one mask, you should be able to clay face and manipulate it to get 8 dice in the prep for the next turn. But one of the other cards we said with this, which I think a lot of our teams ran, was the Billy Club. That was strictly to get the mask when you need them. We'll have the newer card since the Death Race came out, and that was the
Intellect Devour.
That's right. Any of the Intellect Devours that spin down a sidekick. And then, of course, you can sometimes you have the Billy Club, but sometimes you want it to have a different energy, which that's where this allows you now to have that bolt if you need it later on or something. Other thing people notice they'll have troubles with is on turn 1 or turn 2. Sometimes you'll have an extra energy that you couldn't buy anything with. That's where one of the basic actions, if you need a space, is to put crate and food and water in, or cake. That allowed you to pull a die, use the one to pull a die from your bag, and then put it back in the bag, and now you had your 4 sidekick dice to prep. So if anyone's looking for, you're like, hey, I need a basic action, cake.
Yeah.
So those were the main keys we had. Half the teams used Cosmic Cube. And that was strictly, we didn't have all the teams with cube. We wanted to run some teams with cube, some for smash damage. I think we had about half the team for cube.
Yeah, we definitely wanted a variety of different teams that could pull off a third 3 win.
Right, now, I mean, these main 3 cards, I would assume most people are going to run them. Could probably say don't run them, but I would say make sure you have them on the team.
It's probably going to be a good idea.
Right,
Yeah,
I mean, you could
have any sidekicks in the bags, and these 3 cards will make sure that they won't be.
Yeah.
Right, unless you come out with some other 3 win con or something, but if you don't have these 3, you're not getting your ramp, and you need morphine jar for sure. Or some teams had mass, like a 2-cost mass, but most of these teams, these are your main 3 for your engine this format.
So yeah, if this is the engine, let's see what they were powering. So let's kind of go through the teams here. The first one is Red Eyes Black Dragon. Do you want to give us a quick run through on that one?
Our first Yu-Gi-Oh entry we had. I remember when we first had this team, it was based on suggestions, and we saw it playing in the monster tournaments we saw. I didn't know how to run it, didn't know how powerful it was, but we had fun running this team, I believe. Mike, you want to describe it, or do you remember all the cards for it?
I don't remember all the cards for it, but it pretty much was trying to get sidekicks in the field to be able to swing with the Red Eyes Black Dragon to give him the buff of the +2 per sidekick that was knocked out.
That's right.
So you want to get him out as fast as possible, Ring of Winter, and like I said, just get those sidekicks out there and swing with them, make him as big as possible.
I think to get the dragons, we used it was Ring of Winter. We had
And,
for it.
Creek Captain.
Ring of Winter and Kree Captain, and of course to get the global use, we bought a Beholder, which was pretty good. I know pushing too, but we used those to generate to get the red eyes out, and then sidekicks were out in the field. We made sure we had 2 or 3 sidekicks, and then the red eyes Black Dragon got pretty beefy. We had 2 of them sometimes on a turn, or by turn 3, and pushed for a lot of damage. So they were surprisingly a fun team to run. And it wasn't too hard to get the whole combo to get together, actually, with the holder got out.
Okay, let's jump to, I think this is one of your favorites here, Reg. Mr. Fix-It.
Mr. Fix-It himself. He always was fun to play. People, they always said he got nerfed by a few teams, but Fix-It, he always hurt yourself. If he didn't roll, you spent all that energy to get him out turn 3 or 4. If you missed them, you knew you lost the game. But Fix-It in this format, even if you missed it, at him the next turn, you have a chance. Fix-It, of course, was the one where he takes damage. He doubles his printed A, and of course, using something like Magic Missile, got a beefy pretty fast. And in the Death Race tournament, Mike, I don't think it won its match, did it?
No, it didn't. It got beat out by Vicious Struggle.
And I think I remembered he never rolled on his level 2 or 3 side when we beat him at all.
No, he'd always come up on his level 1.
All right, and of course level 1 side he doesn't get as beefy as you think he would get, or we didn't have enough bolt to get him big enough to get the 20. I think a lot of times we put him on his level 1, he got to like 19 damage and he didn't finish it. But it's basically the team was built around the same engine we had. We used Pim particles with it to overcrush. You could use proton cannon. We used Pim particles because we had a spot, and we used create food and water to make sure we had that 4 energy rolling 8 dice turn 2. I had Kree Captain, and we had, I think, Reboot Gulliman make just in case you rolled Fix-It on his big side. I don't think it'll really matter because turn 3, 4, or 5 you're going to hit for huge. So you wouldn't probably want Gulliman. You maybe have another piece in there to get you some more bolts quicker. But definitely a team that can do some major damage, and I think over 5 turns, I think you could do basically 150 damage with.
Yeah, he's definitely one I'm kind of interested to see how he does.
Yeah, he would be fun to see if someone runs him.
Okay, let's jump to the next one, which was an interesting team. Do you guys recall what this guy did?
Mjolnir. It was purely like an action damage team. So the whole idea of getting Mjolnir out there using action cost reducers such as like the Red Dragon Global and also using the Global to purchase the Mjolnir. Get Cosmic Cube out there as well, and just hopefully you're going to get a whole bunch of bolts out there. I believe we were either using Iceman or Techno in this one. Get as many bolts as we could in a reserve pool.
Yeah, I think we use a Techno.
So that's the whole point, is just get it on burst and double burst on your Mjolnir and do as much damage as you possibly can with 1 or 2 cubes out there. And this team did quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, it was surprising because you could buy the Mjolnir cheap, and he did a lot of damage, especially when you spin it down with the tech. You had a lot of stuff in the reserve pool. The Mjolnir does 1 damage to target character. What was it? 1 damage target character for each in the pool or something. It had to roll on, I think, the burst side. I think we ran into trouble where
first double burst, so
and it does it to the opponent.
It relies a lot on rolling, but I also believe we had Parallax on the team.
We put it on there, or maybe it didn't, or that's obviously maybe why it didn't win, or didn't win the whole thing. But it getting on the burst side, and you have that. I think you do need Parallax. So look at the team. It's where you need the Thor, you need the Red Dragon, you need the 3 engine that we had, you need a cube. There's no spot for Parallax, so you'd have to take off a Techno, or you take off, and that's where it's going to be hard for you to. What's the best thing to make this Mjolnir run better? Over 5 turns, but to do it for 3 turns, you need Mjolnirs, and a couple cubes. At 5 turns, I could see with all 4 cubes and all 4 Mjolnirs in the field. That might be a fun one to run and see how much damage it can do.
Yeah. Since we are recording this on Canada Day, we are gonna honor our Canadian superheroes here. This guy didn't
Wolverine.
fare as well as you guys expected, did he?
No, he didn't, unfortunately. He was kind of a last entry, I believe, wasn't he?
We originally had one of the teams. I don't know if you had the Bronze Dragon on here, but we took that one off. It wasn't as when we did our initial testing, and we did a call out to the community, and we got this one submitted in. We do know it could do a turn 3, but it has to be like exactly do this, then this, then this.
The rules have to be spot on.
And I think every testing we did, it rolled 1 in like 5. During the matches, it just honestly it sucked. I mean, it was one of the quickest matches we had. It just didn't roll, and I think that Wolverine is. I'm trying to remember what we had on it because I don't remember the exact team. I think it was White Tiger you had to have out, so your opponent had to have a sidekick fielded. You had to roll pin particles. Had to have a giant spider. I think it was. There was a bunch of stuff you had to do. You had to roll. Like what was that action? Back for seconds, I think it was. Where you get something where it doubles the damage, I think it was, or no, it does. It fields at level 3. That's how we did it. Wolverine came out on level 3, and it had to have all these things to roll for you. And if you're rolling 4 dice, well, the odds are one of them's not going to roll for you, and it sucked. It didn't do very well for a turn 3 tournament. Turn 4 or turn 5, it might do more.
Yeah,
but honestly, the Wolverine. I think the maximum he would have done anyways was like 21. So I'm not suggesting people run this one, but they could try.
Maybe someone can redeem him in this Death Race 2.
Well, I mean, I still think the max he will do is 20. I think when you double it, he's going to do 20 in a turn. So could do 60 over 3 turns, but we know there's teams that can do more than that.
And I think this next one is probably one of those. So let's take a look at King Black Bolt.
Oh yeah, there's a team that's capable of doing a lot of damage.
This is an interesting one because Mike, when we were building this one, you had an idea of Black Bolt, and I had an idea of King Black Bolt, and I think it's one of the ones we actually tested it against each other, and it took us 2 or 3 matches before we figured out what was the best way.
I was on the team of trying to get Katana and Nowhere to work, where you were like, no, we're pulling enough dice. We were able to get the 4 energy we need to buy him outright.
That's right, it was Katana. Yes. Yeah, it was, you get Katana, then you spin it to get a Black Bolt or something. Using Nowhere.
So you get Nowhere in the works in that as well, which took a lot longer than I had thought. I thought for sure we could be able to get that on turn 3, but I think the best we could do with the Nowhere build was by turn 4.
Turn 4, right? And we said use the engine, roll 8 dice. Turn 2, odds are with you that you should roll a what if character with 8 dice. With 4 dice cursed, it's hard, but with 8 it should be easier, especially if you have the intellect devourers. So we had a Black Bolt prepped for turn 3, and then turn 3 you had to have the bolt you had the first turn you bought, and it was just a matter of buy-in. And I think we squeaked across a couple games doing 20 damage, but over the course of 5 turns I could see a couple cubes doing huge damage with the what was the global we used for this? I think it was
the Agent Venom from the Amazing Spider-Man, which is generic energy to give your character a +1 defense.
That was the one. Yeah, so if you can have 2 cubes and use that, you could do 5 damage for each energy times by 7 dice. You could do a lot of damage each turn. And I could see this one being all over 180 to 150 probably. 5 turns.
Damage.
And he'd be fun. And again, it could be very bad that you don't roll the what if character turn 2 and then you're stuck. So it could be a dud, but I think this is one of those ones to say, well, how much can it do in 5 turns? And it'd be interesting to see.
I'd love to see this.
I hope someone runs this one. So our next team is it was part of the Death Race, but it's probably a controversial one for this format.
Yes, definitely. And I think we had specific rules for this one when we played our tournament, because I think like we didn't allow damage on the opposing turn to be reflected, right?
No, we took out the defensive part of Vicious Struggle, so we used this and stuff like that. On our turn we were able to use it and we were still taking damage from it, but fact that it stayed in our field zone on our opponent's turn, it really knocked away being able to do damage that next turn. So we took away that part of Vicious Struggle.
And don't get me wrong, it still did 30 to 50
Quite a
damage.
bit.
Having double Clayface opportunity with this, I mean, Vicious Struggle was using the Luke Cage, which it was pay a fist, deal 1 damage to both players. But if you had 2 cubes out, I was hitting with 1 fist, but hitting you for 5.
That's right.
And that was only turn 3, and we were up in the 30 or 40. I could just
Easy.
imagine this on turn 5. Could have 4 cubes out, you roll all 4, have a bunch of cobalts on fists with parallaxing as well. You could have, the damage could be for each fist could be doing 7 damage. It could be
Ridiculous.
This could get ridiculous for turns 4 and 5. And that's also saying, I don't know if the rule's going to be in, but it also could say if you have a struggle on, you could hit for 30, 40. Now the struggle chips on, and your opponent's gonna, whatever he hits you with, you're gonna take it back. So
Yeah.
that's where again we might say
we're gonna make some decisions on this guy.
Right. I mean, the thing is, if you take away the defensive damage, then it should be whatever I hit myself with shouldn't count then, or something that. This would be one of those ones where do we test it and say how bad can Vicious Struggle get, and is it going to be to the point where it's not a fun card to play? Maybe.
Yeah. So
it'll be confusing, I think, for people too.
Stay tuned to the article. We'll have some final decisions on this card, whether it makes the cut or not, or whether we modify how it's going to play. But that's what it did. So
I mean, even in our matches when we played Mike, we didn't really like the Vicious Struggle team. I'm sure everyone's played a Vicious Struggle team, and if you haven't, ask whoever has it to play it against you. You'll see how much fun it is.
So we're gonna move.
I just want to stand up. I hate this team.
We're gonna,
Falls into that dick.
we're gonna move on from something old to something a little newer.
Iceman.
So we'll probably not spend a lot of time on this guy because he's had a lot of spotlight recently. So what do you want to say about this guy?
Iceman was.
He has the capability of doing a lot of damage, and in this kind of the addition of a cosmic cube, damage could get really ridiculous. So yeah, I think seeing this team in action with the cosmic cube in it would be very, very interesting.
When we ran it with the cube, I don't think we were prepared. We thought Iceman was going to do a lot of damage, and it kind of surprised us that the other teams were doing just as much. But yeah, the whole premise, if you have 2 cosmic cubes out, every time you're hitting with Iceman, it's doing 6 damage, I believe. And it can get ridiculous how much damage. Now, the other thing would be with 5 turns, it'd be interesting to see if someone ran the Nova instead of Iceman.
Ooh.
And just because a lot of times you roll Iceman, he rolls on his level 1 side. And with Nova, you can do more damage with Nova. You can ping more. You'll have more energy with the Professor Xing. So it'd be interesting to see if someone wants to run an Iceman, can build it better than what we did in the videos. So I think there are more tools to make Iceman even more dangerous now. And but yeah, someone look at Nova. It might be fun to see how much Nova or Iceman can do in 5 turns.
Yep. And we're gonna move on to another classic here. So this one was pretty decent. It did okay in the death race, but I'll let you guys talk about that. But I'll just jump in by saying, unfortunately, I think one of the keys to this team is gone, because it had imprisoned in it, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it was Imprison, but I think we took Imprison out for the fun part of it.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
I don't think we ran it in the tournament with Imprison. Again, these are the teams, we gave 5 teams buys the first round, and Bard was one of them. So we didn't really practice with those ones because we thought, they're pretty easy. And then when we got into it, our Bard team was more around low-cost characters and getting Miri to get them out cheap. So it was swing a wide field. And with the death race only needing 20 damage, well, if you only had, we were thinking the opponent probably would have 0 in their field for turn 3. So if we could have 5 characters in the field, well, you had nothing. All I needed was 4 different characters, and I was swinging for lethal. So this will be harder to see to build this one for when having a field, because your opponent had 2 sidekicks. It's hard to get around them. So that's where, again, Imprison would have been good, but it is banned. So
yeah.
I don't know what other cards would be in this one there could be like a Psylocke or something you could throw on it that takes out opponent's sidekicks or something, or KOs them. I'm not sure what would be the best.
Yeah,
But
I honestly don't think this is probably a good choice for this format. But I mean, if someone wants to run it, bring it back from the dead, so to speak, go for it.
yeah, if you could run it to get a, like you could run it to get something even in the field, like to get a big field. I mean, we did this one, I think, in the video. It was turn 3, how to do Bard instantly, and it killed. Like, it had a field, like you were doing 25 damage. I don't know if it can do the 40s and 50s like other stuff can.
Yeah.
Good luck. Hopefully someone does run a Bard team, and it'd be interesting to see how it fares when the opponent can control the field.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about a fairly well-known team. Do you want to take this one, Mike?
So this 7-cost beholder, but unfortunately, I believe it needs something to it to work. Might be able to work. The same thing with Barb was imprisoned.
Yeah.
This one was very, very devastating, especially with the front line. But
Yes.
I think there's an issue with this team, I believe, isn't there?
There is. This card itself is banned in Golden.
So look at the team list. It actually contains 2 cards that are banned because it was the only team we used with imprisoned. And the imprisoned, once it came out in the field, it didn't matter what your opponent had. It just cleared face, and I believe we had Black Widows that buffed with it. We used Bifrost to get the beholders out, and it was a crazy build. I mean, watch the videos. This team was incredible to run. It was a lot of fun to run. And I think both you and Mike, you and me both ran it with success in the tournaments. And after the games, we were like, that was so much fun. It was incredible that, getting a Bifrost, you roll a level 3 morphine jar for 1, you buy a beholder in the use pile, and it instantly just comes out with that level 3 morphine jar as a level 3. And it was crazy when you did that with a Black Widow sitting there, that now your level 3 beholder is even more buffed. It was a crazy fun team, but no one's going to get to do those shenanigans because he's banned.
He's gone.
So he's definitely one of those fun teams. If we did a death race, he would be for team sure to run.
So let's jump to another fairly popular card back in the good old days.
Oh, Super Young. I don't have the card, but I had many games against it, and it wasn't a fun card to play against. It was one of those teams where your opponent can just do whatever they want, and you just sit back and watch it.
Yeah.
As much as you tried to attack against it and stuff like that, it was hard. Once you got that flow going, she gave you very, very nasty.
Like, this was one of the first cards we saw when it's like the 2-cost power stuff that came out. The Ring of Winters and all. It's like, wow, well, that's crazy. She could have easily been a 5-cost and still been a very valuable win con. But yeah, I mean, the Yanti was simple. She came out with a couple cubes, and you could buy 1-cost basic actions or action dice for 1, and you were doing 5 damage each time.
So the only problem that we can kind of foresee with her is, she's going to kill you pretty quick, but does she have the legs for 5 turns?
No, because once you start buying all those actions and stuff like that, you're left with a jammed bag and not a whole lot of actions left to purchase.
Even when we did the 3-turn death race, he never was above 30.
And she was my favorite to win. I for sure was thinking she was going to win.
We didn't even practice. We ran the team. Most people were running for this thinking, she'll be easy, no problem. And we saw, like, wow, if she has 2 cubes, which we were lucky to get, and a Yanti out, the max we could do was something like 24 damage, I think, in the turn.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if you're doing turns 4 and 5, well, there's nothing left to buy. There's still some 1-cost to buy, but you're getting all your PXG probably.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to get the ramp, and I don't see her doing more than maybe 70 damage for the night or for the 5 turns, but that's probably not going to win it in this format.
Yeah,
so,
we'll see. I think someone's going to run her, and I'll be happy to see her, but I'll be curious how she does.
It'd be interesting to see how they get around that.
The mucked up bag,
Yeah.
So from probably one of my most hated teams to probably one of my most favorite teams, Lantern Ring.
And looking back at what for a 5-turn kill, not having to worry about stuff in the field, because the lantern ring doesn't go away when it hits; it just sits there.
Just sits there nice and
right. So I mean, this, and again, hopefully not everyone runs this team. In the DM North game room, we're gonna say you can only have one person's gonna run that, and Matt, I'm sure you're gonna call dibs on that.
I'd like to.
Right, and I mean, the thing is this is that obvious team that you can say if you want to go defensive isn't cool. You could say run this with the static field, run this with something that'll stop your opponent from doing anything, because really all you need on this is lantern ring and a morphine jar, really, and you just attack with your morphine jars. And a cube, of course you need. But those 3 things are easily got by turn 3 in the field, and then you're just PXGing to get it all being rolled every turn, adding cubes each turn, and just doing massive amount of damage. I think you can do with this.
Yeah.
This is one of those teams that I think could do 200 damage.
I think this is probably my team to beat. If I'm picking one, I think this might be
the only difference. The difference is who's going to run the lantern ring with a mass team, who's going to run it with a bolt team.
Right.
they're both viable.
Yeah.
Because you could run it with bolts with the cubes, and if you miss the cube rolls, or do you roll it with chewingas, or do you roll it with the morphine jars with the PXG that you can have? So either way, I think they both could be nasty. So hopefully there's not too many of them. And but I honestly, I think most teams will run this, so we might have to have a bracket of just those. But,
although death by chewinga could be pretty funny. That
Really awesome, actually. In fact,
one of the most fun things was running that old Bard when you ran a Bard team, and when you have the chewingas at 0 attacks that we're attacking.
Yeah.
The best ways to win. So
yeah.
Maybe I'll go back. I'll run a Bard with a Silgar too. Yeah, that's why chewingas are always fun.
That could be funny. I'm gonna think about that one.
Yeah, I still remember the day I ran. What was that team? I had an Aunt May team where I used the flipping stuff, Splinter's teachings. I speed people with Aunt May to do wins. When you beat someone and you had to do all the flipping to get stuff back.
Yeah.
But it was Aunt May with Ant Man, and you had to use all the globals. But I think it was with Blob. You had Blobs and Ant Man. It's always fun when you can do stuff that's kind of funny and crazy.
But I think this team could do well here. So I think our
that as our favorite.
Yeah, right now that's the pick I think that could win the whole thing. But maybe I'm wrong. If I recall correctly, these guys did pretty good in the death race.
They won our initial and probably only running of the death race. I mean, Orcs, they were very surprised. I mean, I think the rules we made, Mike, specifically helped this team tremendously. In this tournament for the team of the month, this might be a very hard team, similar to what was that team a couple turns ago, the Yonti, on how it might have legs for turn 3, but it won't have legs for turns 4.
Because you can only fabricate so many times.
Right, of course. I mean, people know if they haven't seen the Warhammer Orc team, you had to have 2 Orc knobs and 2 Orc boys, and then basically the Orc boys, they said if you had an Orc knob in the field, you fabricate them out. And what we did is we fabricated them 4 times, I think, and that make the Orc knobs, they were 1632s, I think they were, because you fabricate twice each one. And we didn't even have the Ant-Man on this team or a Bizarro Global, the Orc knobs. You could do that, and they got massively huge. But of course, if you fabricate 4 times, you had something in the used pile, and you could fabricate the next. Orc knobs they'll be hurt. A magic missile to ping off anything before they could do all the fabricating. It might be interesting, but this team wouldn't have legs for 4 or 5 turns unless someone can prove us wrong. I don't think the Orcs would do as good as they did in the death race in this team of the month.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I want them to do well because I love the Orc teams, but they got a cap on them too.
I mean, and watch them in the death race. They rolled perfectly every time for us. We had Parallax on the team, but we didn't need it a lot of times, and they just rolled perfect. And, it was a lot of fun.
Okay, so I think that covered the 12 original members of the Death Race. Why don't we talk about some of the new kids on the block here?
Ah,
Yeah. Pregnant redhead.
Yes, I've heard that this card might be good.
I mean, obviously, is the meta right now. Now, of course, there's the 4 cost, which is the Overcrush. The 5 cost, which is the ridiculous wall of text that is 3 win cons in 1. This would be interesting if someone brought Becky to it, because you're now giving a Rip Hunter to people as well, which would be interesting if you did that. Hopefully that 5 cost, I don't know, I personally think she would be kind of crazy for this format, but
ooh,
have banned her for all, because she's been banned for all Team of the Month tournaments.
Yeah, we're not a big fan of hers, and because especially in this event we're trying to limit the control factor, she has to be out for that reason. So the 5 cost is out, the 4 cost is in. You're getting 2 out of the 3 abilities for 1 less. I'm okay with that.
fair
And
trade.
I don't think she's gonna do as much as people think. I mean, she runs with the Jerry Lawler and the Booker T Global, but will she do enough damage? I mean, the max she'll do in 1 turn with the one with Overcrush would be what, 16 or 15 if they have a sidekick.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way around that with a lot of these Death Race teams is you don't have a field anyways. It's swing, counter swings. She's not going to do as much. I mean, that 5 cost, I don't even think she would do as much to the opponent unless the team's like building up stuff in the field, like a King Black Bolt or something like that. But the 4 cost with Overcrush, compare it to the Fix-It team that we were just talking about. He's a 6 cost. You have to make him get Overcrush, and then he gets big. So, you know, Becky could come out, you could have 2 or 3 of them by turn 5, and they could all hit. But how much damage is she going to do? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's sneaky ways you can make her bigger, but
Again,
I don't think she'll get in the 100.
Again, I hope someone brings her just to kind of prove us wrong, type of thing.
Yeah, like you have her in the field, you force a sidekick to block or something, you double it, you hit for 15. You do it again the next turn, you do it the next turn.
Yeah.
So she could get 75 damage in 5 turns. Again, you're wasting energy to do in the globals. You know, you don't have the mass to do the PXG in as much. So it'd be interesting. I would love to see someone run a Becky.
Yeah.
And I mean, if someone probably even came with the 5 cost, it'd be like, okay, let's see what it can do. Because I think we don't like the 5 cost one, but I don't think she'll be as bad in this tournament than she would be in other Team of the Months that we have. But
Yeah.
hopefully someone runs a Becky. But I mean, that comes to the 2 globals, right, that people use with it. The Booker T and the Jerry Lawler.
Let's talk about Jerry, because he wasn't around during the original Death Race, was he?
No, it wasn't. No, I think that would have did significant more with the Fix-It team, especially with the rules that we had laid down.
We did have a team idea for, but it wasn't turn 3 to do it. But I mean, before Jerry Lawler came, it was Yarnborn, and he was a 4 cross action. You had to roll with something to do the double. It was very hard to get that, and it never matched up. We always tried it with Fix It. I tried it. I couldn't get it to work. But now you've got a global that just doubles. It's crazy. But how are you going to force block? Because if you have Jerry and Booker, you don't have Cake. There's a couple other globals you're going to be missing, right?
Yeah.
So how is it going to work? I don't think it'll be a lot, because looking at our teams, a lot of them aren't. That the rest of them are all doing other damage other ways. The orcs might have been one way, but I don't think there's a lot of use for Jerry Lawler unless there's other cards that did damage. Like, can the Deadpool come out and do stuff? I'm not sure if there's ways, flipping stats and doing weird stuff with some golden cards.
Yeah.
I don't know how much Jerry would be an influence on this over stuff like Cube. And
he's intriguing to me because, like I said, he wasn't around before, and combat damage, he definitely boosts that, and maybe some of these older combos can benefit from him. So again, I hope to see it. I hope someone tries something with it.
There's nothing better than seeing somebody proving me wrong. It's like, I don't think that can happen, and it shows me up that way. And that's all.
And I mean,
thank you for making me eat those words, because I want to use it now.
I mean, some of the other teams that we kind of brainstormed about was one of the teams that missed our list was the old Nick Fury patch. Was always a fun card to do. Having a bunch of Avengers out and doing a bunch of damage with patch that double stuff. Now, could Lawler help out with that too? I'm not sure. If there's some overcrushing Avengers you could have. That would be fun to do.
Yeah.
That would be one fun team. Other fun one that I thought about if we ever did another death race is the old Lita Jubilee combo. I don't know, because the rules that you just knock out Lita, she has to get refilled. But if we say that you can't knock out the opposing stuff, well, if we have a Lita with a Jubilee in the field, that if you could have 8 sidekicks every turn with Professor X going on, you could do potentially 8 sidekicks every turn. 8 sidekicks get fielded every turn. You know, using cubes with that, how much damage could this do?
That's a lot.
And I'm wondering, you could do 24 damage just fielding sidekicks. But there's other ways to buff them and do stuff that's crazy. That could be interesting, you know, to see what combos can go with Lita and Jubilee. I would love to see someone run a Lita Jubilee combo. I promise I wouldn't knock out your Lita with Magic Missile if I had it, just because I want to see how big she can get, and that would be one of those crazy fun themes. I don't know if it can do as much as Lita,
but I'd like to see it try.
Absolutely.
I mean,
like,
there's the old. Go ahead.
I'm hoping to see, like, we've kind of gone over what you guys played in the death race, and that those are good core teams there. I'm hoping to see some stuff that we haven't seen there. Some of the really goofy stuff. Like, can you pull off something that's unexpected and do a whole crap ton of damage there?
I'd love to see some creativity that's going to stem from.
Yeah,
absolutely.
There's going to be some cool.
I mean, and bonus, if people say if they run some weird teams, and let's say it's all and stuff we see, it'd be interesting to do a small death race with some new stuff. I would love to just do I mean, I'll do a practice game beforehand. I'll put the Lita team out. We can do, and someone can try to make it a little better. Go ahead.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you would think if whatever you're building, you think you want to do at least 30 damage turn 3, 30. You know, you want to do at least maybe 90 to 100 damage at least. I would say in your practice rounds.
Yeah.
If you can't get that, I mean, the guy who brings Fix It and hits for 160 in one turn, hey, do it. I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Hey, if you can do 160 damage in one turn or some combo. Now, there's one combo we didn't talk about that you banned.
That's coming in another video. We do have that one recorded. There is one.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's okay. There is one combo that actually would dominate this event, and that is the Infinite Giganta combo. So watch out for that second video coming up here. It does easily hit before turn 5, and it can do infinite damage very easily. So unfortunately, that one's not available.
I mean, and that's what I'm trying to think, is there's a lot of these teams we had, when you looked at them, you could shout one piece and have that, you know, that's not there for defensive, but it is.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, looking back at this, I would love to see people running Fix It, an Iceman or Nova team.
Yeah.
Someone to try to make Yonti work. Someone try to get the Orcs. Like, there's lots of options you have. But I mean, if you look back at it, there's probably 2 or 3 of them that are the solid options.
Yeah.
Hopefully not everyone runs them. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see how much damage we can do with this format.
Yep.
And it should be a fun night of rolling.
So we are planning to run this, well, we are running this on Saturday, July 11th. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we start. And we broadcast this on our Twitch channel, which is right there, twitch.tv/DiceMastersNorth. Come join in for the fun. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a good time. Know what you're coming in for, though. You're coming in just to punch people and to get punched. And even if you're not going to play, come hang out in the chat, cheer on the teams, let us know who you think's going to win, and have a good time.
Timbit donuts, everyone watching.
Timbits, yes. Get those Timbits.
I do love them.
Yeah. So I think we're going to kind of close things off there. Thank you, both of you, for joining me for this. I do appreciate it. Do you guys have any closing comments?
Just come in. Just know that you're going to be doing massive damage. Keep that defense at home. No control, folks. Just come in here, just swinging hard.
How about you, Reg?
Hey, I mean, first, Mike, thanks for coming out, crossing over to our side. People can also check out Mike over at CR Gameroom. You do lots of stuff for the community as well. We're looking forward to do another death race with you someday. To people out there playing, yeah, bring fun. If you think, remember, you got to play multiple matches with it. Try to be unique with your build, tweak it a little bit, and I mean, don't come out looking to win this. This is more just to hang out, have fun, and join us for some crazy damage stuff. So, looking forward to it.
And again, thank you for watching.